This Ask Mike comes to us from Nguyen Du Giang from Vietnam, which is awesome. I mean, I can't tell you how much fun it is to see these questions coming in from all over the world. I mean, as a teacher, to have the opportunity to impact people from everywhere, it's incredible. And he had a really good question or comment. He said that once he saw the videos, said first of all, he's always been a real open your hips kind of person. And when he got focused on the grip in his hands, all of a sudden he could start hitting the ball better, and he could make it curve, he could make it go straight, high and low. But he says when he comes to bigger swings, he has a hard time controlling how to sequence that out and how to make it work. And well, here's the deal. It's pretty simple in the sense that what you're trying to time with any club is as the club goes through the ball, and we've talked about this, as the club's going through the ball, my left leg pushes my left hip back. Now, I talked to a bunch of students today, I had 2 or 3 today, and I keep talking about one of the worst terms is turn your hips, because if I go back and I either try to turn my hips going back or I try to turn my hips coming down, what actually happens when I give myself the command to turn, the hip flexors and my lower lumbar spine tighten up because they're trying to make my pelvis or my lumbar spine rotate, which they're not designed to do. So is there a better way to get your pelvis to rotate? Well, yeah. So all I'm really doing, see, if you're looking at the camera there, if I take my right hip and I push my right hip socket back, what does my hips appear to have done? Turn. But see, I didn't try to turn my hips. All I did was push my right hip socket back. So if I'm walking backwards, my right hip goes back, then my left hip goes back. So it appears that my pelvis is rotating. But what's really happening? Well, as I go back, my right hip gets pushed back, and when I come down, my left hip gets pushed back. So really what my swing is doing is I'm just doing this. Right hip goes back, left hip goes back. Right hip goes back, left hip goes back. So I'm just pushing my hips back. I'm not trying to twist, so I don't even feel turn. But when people watch my swing, they go, oh man, you get right here and then you just fire your hips. No, that's an appearance. Again, these words that we come up with that create perception is one of the worst things that's happened in golf, because we don't have a definition of terms. So you don't even know when somebody says rotation, release, keep your left arm straight. I mean, what do they mean? I mean, there's no definition, so it could mean multiple things. So you're left to randomly sort through, what does it really mean? What does it really feel like? So back to the question, once you get to the point where right hip's back, and as you come through the ball, your left leg pushes your left hip back, it pushes it back, as the club goes through the ball, that's easy to time. I mean, that's not hard for me to do. So when I'm making a swing, I go back, and as I come into the ball, my left leg pushes my left hip out of the way as the club goes through the ball. So that pushing back accelerates the club. That's easy to do. There's no effort there. Now that ball, I mean, that only went maybe 190 in the air, but I didn't even swing at it. So, but that's these forces. See, once you understand, you start to feel how these forces work and where acceleration is coming from. Now, if you had to ask me there, did you turn your hips? From a feel perspective, I would say, no, my hips didn't turn at all. You watch that on the video though, my hips are turning. But so why are they turning? Well, again, push my right hip back. So when I do that, I'm set up, I start back, I push my right hip back. So this right hip gets pushed back. What does it look like my pelvis did? Rotated. There's no pressure in my lower back. Then I move into my left side, and as I'm coming to the ball, this leg pushes that hip back. Now you look at my hips and you go, oh man, you rotated your hips. But I didn't feel any of that, any of this. It drives me crazy when I see guys say, get up here and then twist. That's a way to do it, but you're forcing your body to do something in a way it's not designed to do it. That's not how it works. It works in straight line forces. You start compromising it, you can do it, but it's a lot more difficult and it puts stress on you that you don't need. So to answer that question, you just have to get to the point where you're timing the club into the ball and this pushing away. Once you feel that, you won't forget it. Now, if I get early, if I do this and this goes first, I mean, I can feel that I'm going to have to catch the club up. And I won't do it twice, and I may or may not hit a good shot. That just depends on how good my hands catch the club up. If I start down and this hip doesn't move, it stops, then this happens and I throw. So there's a blend of the club going through the ball and this hip pushing out of the way. The industry seems to think that you go first and catch up second. I tried that for a while. Very difficult for me to make it work consistently on the golf course under pressure trying to shoot a score, which seems to be fairly important if you want to play golf. I could do it on the range, but the range and playing for a living or playing to shoot a score are considerably different. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for regular updates and tips. Thanks for watching.